This parking lot to our side, it was the Fox Den Cove, and it's at mile marker 6.2 on the Pine Mountain Trail. All right, we came up the Blue Blaze Trail, and it's about 4:45 right now. We've got the Big Knot campsite. You got to have it by permit only. And this is FDR State Park, Franklin Delano Roosevelt State Park. And let me tell you, they've got some great trails. We're going to do one tomorrow that's about 8 miles. They've got them as small as 2 miles. And then you can actually do one that's over 20 miles. So, great park, great trails. All the trails are easy to moderate. There are some climbs, but they're pretty gentle for the most part. But the campsite's very secluded, and you can see well off the path. So that's a good thing. And one of the things that I'm going to try today, I've got my new tool here. This is from Troy-Bilt. It's made in Germany. And open it up here. Vicious double blade, double tooth, I should say, handsaw. I think it's just going to tear the stuff up. So we're looking for dead wood. Anne Marie's already found some and gotten it started. We've got all our mosquito things going. Tent set up. Anne Marie's done a great job of getting some wood together. I went ahead and filled up the water, and we've got a lot of water, creek nearby, so we're looking good. Woo, very nice. This saw works on the pole, so it cuts on the pole. I like that a lot better. Very nice. Troy-Bilt RE-K. I bought this as clearance, and very, very nice. Wickedly sharp. All right, I've got some of the amber off of some of the pine trees. I'm going to try to light it. Oh, it lit there for a second, but then it went out. Let me try it again. Maybe I should have pulverized it into a powder. Yeah, it's catching a little bit. And then if we can take some of this lighter stuff on top here, get it going like that. Let's see what we can do. Blowing on it. Got some of this punk wood and all this other stuff. Throw it on there. And it took. I just kept piling some fine shaving stuff on there and put the dry stuff on. I'll put some heavier stuff on now. but it turned out pretty well. Strung up a line for my light and some of my other stuff, and also I hung up this mosquito grid. It's an insect repelling grid. You just pull it out of the plastic, and it's supposed to protect you from mosquitoes for up to 300 square feet for up to 100 hours. So you can use it for part of your evening, put it back in a Ziploc bag, bring it back out, and keep doing that for up to 100 hours. So pretty good. It's by the Natural Repellent Company. Active ingredients: citronella oil, geranium oil, lemongrass, and peppermint oil. And just in case that doesn't work, I've got the trusty Thermacell hooked up too. Thermacell, guaranteed, will get rid of your mosquitoes, no doubt. It takes a butane cartridge, you bring it up to heat, it heats these pads. The pads emit a fume, and it's good for probably 300, 400 square feet easily. We used it in the Okefenokee Swamp, and we could see the mosquitoes gathering outside our tent in the hundreds. Put that thing, lit it, ignited it, I should say. It works off a tiny battery for ignition. Unzipped the tent, stuck it outside the tent, and in 5 minutes, all the mosquitoes are gone. So we know that works, Thermacell. We're going to try the other one too. What's for dinner?
We have some pork.
Dehydrated pork?
Dehydrated pork, and lentils that we're going to add to that, and some sauce.
Tomato sauce.
Tomato sauce. Tomato sauce.
Now the lentils are already pre-cooked. All we have to do is heat those. So we'll dehydrate the pork. We'll hydrate the pork first, and then what we'll do, let that sit. We'll bring it up to a boil, and then we'll let all the water seep into the pork, and then we'll stir in the lentils while it's hot, and we'll keep that over the flame and keep that going. So the pork and the sauce will go into the pot, and the lentils will stay behind until everything else is ready. So in goes the pork. You might want to break that up and then set it on top of the pork. So just pull that out, and you'll see there's a crease. Pull it on the other side. See that crease right there? Open it up on that crease right there and unfold it, and it'll just peel. It'll just peel out. They call that leather because it looks exactly like leather. Feels a little bit like a tacky kind of leather, I guess. But anyway, put your sauce on top, because if you put it on the bottom, it could scorch and burn on the bottom of your pan. That's a cleanup. All right, now she's gonna add the water. That's good. All right, just enough water to reach the top of the pork. And we'll spread the sauce out in there and let it soak up a little bit. And then once that soaks up for about 15 to 20 minutes, we're gonna put it on the heat. After it comes to a boil, we'll add the lentils.
For the period Saturday through Thursday, high fire danger conditions are possible this weekend due to low relative humidity, gusty winds, and drying fuels.
Oh, and we got a boil. So we're gonna put that in there like that, stir that all up. Look at all that pork and that tomato sauce. That looks incredible. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the lentils. All right, and you can hold it there. And we're going to, let me get this handle. Handle got a little hot, so I'm going to hold it up here. Stir the lentils in with the hot pork. Break the lentils up a little bit. And the lentils are already pre-cooked, so all we had to do was just add them to the hot stuff. Marie managed to get all the food and all her toiletries that have any scent to them in the bear bag. This is the Ursack. Remember, if you get the black Ursack, buy a reflector to put outside of it, because if you've got to find it at night, the black bag's almost impossible to find. I also put reflective tape on the rope here, which that helps as well. But I'm gonna go tie it to a tree. And you can see it's easy to spot the bag with a reflector. And if for whatever reason I've got to get in there at night or early in the morning and there's no sunshine, all I gotta do is hit that reflector with my flashlight and I've found the bag. And it's sat for 10 minutes with the lentils inside. Looks good. Pork, lentils, and tomato sauce. So what do you think?
It's good. Very good.
Just a tip, when you dehydrate pork, buy the pork that's in the can. And the reason being is they've already cooked it in the can and it has a lot of moisture in it. And that dehydrates better. If you just cook regular pork, and sometimes you'll have a tendency to dry it out, it's not going to dehydrate well. So pork in the can, chicken the same way. Do chicken out of the can as well. We're starting to get some rain. There's a little bit of rain in the forecast tonight, and it looks like we're going to get it. So finishing up dinner. Did a good job finishing up hers.
Excellent.
And the fire probably is not going to make it if it does rain. We'll just head back to the tent. We've bundled up our backpacks, put the rain covers on them, and that should keep everything dry. We've got trash compactor bags inside the backpacks, tied up inside of them. That'll keep everything we have dry in case the bags get wet or the rain covers fail. But I think we're in good shape. So if it rains, bring it on. About 8:30 p.m. and we were kind of waiting for the rain. The weather radio said there was a very good chance of rain, and we kept getting drizzle and mist, strong winds, but so far we're almost at 9 o'clock and nothing. So we've stayed out of the tent as long as we can, and we're enjoying the fire, keeping it kind of small right now so that if it does rain, we're okay. If there's one part of the camp out that Anne-Marie likes the least, it's having to relieve yourself out in the woods, digging a cat hole and then filling it in, and even worse than that is doing it at night. Fire's burning out, and off to bed we go. All right, it's almost 7 a.m. The birds are chirping loudly, and it didn't rain at all. So we had horrendous wind. It was misting on the tent for a while, but no rain. So we're completely dry. Hallelujah. And then today it's going to be great weather. So we're going to do an 8-mile hike around. All right, so we're going to put the water on for the coffee. Get that going. It's not even ground, but it'll do. The zebra pot with the handle that stays up. And then for breakfast, we've got smoked salmon. We'll put 2 eggs with that, and red peppers. So that's what's going to be for breakfast. Salmon, red peppers, a couple of eggs. And we'll show you how we're going to do the eggs inside the zebra pot. And we just dehydrated it. So put the salmon in there. So just break them apart.
These are sweet peppers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Orange, red, and yellow. They all come out looking red.
Oops. Oh, well.
It's gonna boil anyway. All right, grab the water behind you.
Oh,
And just fill it to the top. That's good right there.
okay. And
Whenever we're camping with Anne-Marie, we always have to use the coffee press and bring the coffee grounds.
gourmet coffee.
I got the fire going, and I'm gonna put the salmon and the peppers on, and I'm gonna lower the lid on the zebra pot. I'm not going to use the lid. Instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in the insert, and I've got ghee inside there, and you can buy these ghee packets at the grocery store or on the internet. As the steam builds up underneath this pot, it's going to melt the ghee, and when it melts the ghee, then I'm going to put the eggs in here, and we're going to scramble them. Go. All right, so I've got the ghee all melted. I've put it up on the walls here, and so just put the eggs in. All right, and then I'll scramble these up. This was a double yolker right here. Scramble this up a little bit, and the ghee should keep it from sticking. So while I'm hydrating the salmon and the peppers underneath, I'm cooking the eggs on top. And you can see the eggs are cooking up nicely. I've actually turned the heat down. The salmon came to a boil with the peppers in it. I'm just using the steam in the pot to cook the eggs. The eggs came out beautiful. So I'll take everything off the heat and we'll let it sit. I'll put the lid on top of this and we're good to go. Using these work gloves that I got. You can find these really cheap at some places, and these were really cheap. I got them at a clearance center because they mark, you know, that's the left hand, but what they accidentally did was on the right hand, they marked it as the left hand too. So they had to sell them for $1. You can't beat it. But good rubberized surface for gripping things, and it'll help you pick up those hot pots. But I always like this, especially if there's a lot of water, if it's rained heavily or whatever, and you're paring down some wood for the fire or whatever. It's great to have a set of gloves to keep your hands from just getting absolutely dirty, nasty. Let it all sit. Here's those eggs, scrambled eggs, looks good. I'm gonna let you take half of those out of there. So how did it taste?
Oh, this is delicious. The combination of the salmon and the eggs is really, really good. Good idea. And the sweet peppers is a good addition. I like it.
Good. One more cup of coffee before we hit the trail. We keep ourselves clean and our dishes clean with a bar soap that's made up of all natural ingredients, no chemicals and anything like this. It foams up really, really well. You don't really have to worry about, you know, this running off into the water or anything like this. It's all natural ingredients that you find in the forest. And we double bag it because the bar of soap gets really dicey. But one of the things we use are these towelettes. Keep them in this container. One of these tablets, you put it in there, add water, and it expands to a nice moist towelette, and we use that for doing the dishes and things of that nature, hygiene things. They're completely biodegradable, and so you can if you use them to relieve yourself or whatever, it can go in the pit with your excrement, and you don't have to worry about it. And if we use them for cooking, a lot of times what we do is we just spread them over and burn them in the fire. They go up instantly. Hey, look, it's really important that if you're going to relieve yourself outside, and if you're camping multiple days like we are, you're definitely going to have to do it sooner or later, that you bury it properly, that you dig the cat hole. I try to get down about 6-7 inches deep, move all the leaves out of the way, I always try to get it all packed down, keep the dirt very close by, pack it in, and be done with it. Here on the East Coast, we've got the right biological agents and everything to make that happen, and that's good. Don't do something on the surface and leave it there. That's disgusting, and we shouldn't be doing that. On the West Coast, where you've got more desert-like soils and rocky soils and stuff like that, it's really hard. You can't do the cat hole method. You've got to pick it up and take it with you, so you have to make sure you have a bag for that. But on the East Coast, all you have to do is just dig the proper hole and make it work.
Agua no mucha de una vez, sino que poquito, poquito, poquito. La embarazada sobre todo. Yo le digo, desde que despierta hasta que te acuesta, tómate como 2 tragos cada hora. Donde esté anda con tu...
If you do a lot of dehydrated cooking like we do with dehydrated meals, obviously you've got to have water for that. And it takes more water than what most people normally use if they're through hiking or whatever. They're just carrying maybe a couple of liter bottles. We actually bring about 2 gallons worth of storage in addition to our 1 liter bottles. These are collapsible bags. They fold completely flat, take up about as much space as a sheet of notebook paper. And we go ahead, I just go to the nearest creek, filter all the water, get it all in there, and then we can stay at camp. We don't have to be making constant trips to the creek. But if you're doing a lot of dehydrated cooking, buy some of these, and they pack really well into your backpack. And like I said, you can get about 1 gallon each almost in each one of these bags. Right, we're about to leave. It's 10 o'clock. We're going to leave on our 8 mile or 7.5 mile, depending on which source you believe, hike. And one of the things that we're doing is we're carrying our day packs. We're going to leave the backpacks here, and I love this Sea to Summit Ultrasil day pack. The whole pack fits into this. Nice carabiner on the outside of it. I just attach it to the outside of my backpack. It doesn't have a chest strap, so I just made a homemade one. It just helps, especially if you're going over a water area and you're kind of leaning over. You don't want that strap falling off your shoulder while you're in the midst of something, especially something dangerous. So the chest strap just holds it in place. I never have to worry about it falling off, no matter what conditions I'm in. But one thing we're bringing for it is the hike. We've got our toiletry supplies. I'm going to bring my Garmin Etrex 30. I've got my Spot in case we end up in a jam. Just a warm pullover in case it's needed. I've got my water supplies. I've got E-Gel electrolytes and Justin's almond butters, and that's what we're going to have for lunch today. I've got a first aid kit with some Leukotape attached to it. The Leukotape is just great for any kind of emergency you might have. I'm going to bring my EpiPen that I need, rain poncho, flashlight in case we get jammed somewhere and it's dark, and then I've got my dehydrated Granny Smith apples to eat on the trail as well. Water filtration kit in case we end up in a jam and we need to process some more water. I've got that available too. Going on the big Poplar Loop, and which is exactly 8 miles. That's what I was thinking of all along. when I was looking through the various trails. So we're going to do the Big Poplar Trail, 8 miles. And it'll bypass where we've got the car parked. We left the trekking poles in the car, so we're going to try to get those on the way around. There's a lot of small pebbles, you know, particles larger than sand on this trail. For me personally, it would be really hard to do any of these trails with a hiking sandal. There's a Pine Mountain Trail Association. It's a nonprofit, and they take care of all these trails. They've done a fantastic job. I tip my hat to you. Great signage. The blazes are very clear. There are some trails where you change color of the blaze on some of the loops, so you just have to pay attention to that. The registration center, camping registration center at FD Roosevelt State Park also has a map that you can buy. It's waterproof. It's made of Tyvek. It's a full color map. It has a nice legend on it, makes it easy to understand, and you can buy that for $5. And if you're going to hike the various loops and trails, I would recommend that you get that as a backup, just in case your phone goes down or your GPS unit batteries die. Very nice to have. Which reminds me, I didn't bring my backup batteries for my GPS, but I just put fresh batteries in, so I should be pretty good. But if you're smart, you always bring your backup batteries with you. I left them in my backpack. But there's also a Google Maps interactive map, and I wish I could remember the fellow's name who put it together, but it's fantastic. He did a wonderful job. That's how we got to our parking area. I couldn't make a determination on the map exactly where we were in the car because I forgot what highway we were on, and so I used his Google Maps path map on interactive path map. He denotes all the parking areas and all the campsites, so he does a fantastic job. And you can find that map if you go through the Pine Mountain Trail Association's website. Look up interactive map. It'll be right there on their homepage. Click that and it will give you that Google map. And I'm pretty sure you can download the map so that if you don't have phone service, you can still use it through the GPS on your phone. Here's just an example of the signage that they have. They do a great job with it. Everything's very detailed, easy to read, but wonderful job, Pine Mountain Trail Association. And then if you get into a jam, they also have all the emergency numbers, and so people can find you. So great job. You do have to pay attention to the trail. There are some sharp drop-offs when you get to certain sections, and this one drops about a good 20 feet, and you don't want to be on the wrong side of that. Pretty thin path shelf, but yeah, that one's an interesting one. You're going right off the face of the cliff. Y'all are the first horses I've seen on the trail. Do y'all ever camp on the trail or just ride?
We camp elsewhere. Here we go.
Well, beautiful horses.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been all over Wyoming, Montana,
That's awesome.
several places.
I love it. Well, congratulations on getting out there and doing it. I love it. I wish I could get out there on the horse. That'd be beautiful. Well, thanks for sharing with us. I'm going to put you on YouTube. This is part of a YouTube post I'm doing on the trail here.
Oh, cool. I would love to.
Of this massive old growth tree. Look at this. Absolutely incredible. Oh my goodness, and it's even better when you get to the back. Incredible. Look at this. Right out of Lord of the Rings. You could camp inside that thing if you wanted to. Incredible. All right, around 2.5 miles to go before we get back to camp. It's been a great hike. This path is considered, the Poplar Loop is considered a moderate trail in terms of difficulty. And that's pretty much so. A couple of changes in elevation, but overall not bad. A little bit of a rocky surface, so you might want a good solid pair of shoes meant for hiking, and not much of a, in terms of the view. In the winter time you could probably get some good overlooks, but with the vegetation growing out the way it is, there's not a lot of viewing once the leaves come out. I'd like to try this in the winter time sometime and see if you can see something through the trees. But anyway, really nice. The trail signs say it's 7.8. The All Trails app on the internet says 8. I've got my GPS set in there, so we'll figure out what it actually is according to the GPS, which never lies, and we'll know for sure. But it's been a good steady hike, and we've used 1 liter of water. It's about probably 60 to 65 degrees outside. When we started, it was probably about 48 degrees, and so you know, cooler temperatures, you don't need as much water. That was the case today. 1 liter. I've got the 2nd liter strapped to me. We haven't even used it yet. And all in all, wonderful hike. Highly recommend it. And there's a trail map, like I said, available at the station where you check in. And it's for $5. And it's made out of a really nice Tyvek material. So if it gets wet or whatever, it's raining, you've still got the map. So it's worth it for that. But we're almost back at camp. I'm gonna have another peanut butter packet when I get back to camp, and relax a little bit, and we'll get ready for some of that dehydrated hamburger for dinner tonight. and see how that tastes. We finally had a peek where the trees had been decimated for some reason, and got a look at some cliff, some peaks. What do you think?
This is just gorgeous. It's really, really beautiful. Clear view of the hill.
So you can see how high we're up, because that's the parallel mountain. So we're not far from the top of that one. But anyway, nice to kind of get a glimpse of some blue sky and some green mountains. You can capture it. Thank you, Daniel Newton, Eagle Scout from Midland, Georgia in 2010. All right, we finished 8 miles, Poplar Loop. And what was your impression?
I know it was only moderately strenuous, but it was more than moderately strenuous for me, but it was gorgeous. It was a beautiful hike.
A lot of water, a lot of waterfalls, good pictures. You don't have to worry about carrying a lot of water with you. You can fill up as you go if you bring your filter with you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, there were a lot of steep parts, but there were also some declines, so it balanced it out, but it was absolutely gorgeous. The ferns were spectacular. It was really, really beautiful. Plus, it was good to have it with you.
All right, so we both got trail tested. I tested positive and she tested negative. She's the negative person on the trail. I'm the positive one. I kept saying, We're almost there. We're almost there. She kept getting mad at me
I did not. We are 4
because
miles to go.
she wanted to be realistic, and I'm just trying to encourage her.
But 4 miles to
But-
go is not.
But she got mad at me. So if you go camping with her and hiking, you'll probably want to kill yourself by halfway through the trip because she's trail negative and I'm trail positive. That's a bad mix. You need two negatives together who say, "Oh my God, we're never going to get there. It's painful. Oh my gosh, we should just turn around and go back." That's what you need. 2 trail negatives together, because it doesn't work with a positive. All right, so I'm going to try the amber again. And luckily you've got reasonably flat stones here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rough these fibers up really well between the 2 rocks. Okay, so I'm taking some of the amber that I collected from the pine trees, and I'll just put a couple pieces down. It doesn't take a lot. And then I've got that material that I crushed between the 2 stones, that fibrous material. And so what I'll do is I will light the amber, get it going. And if I can keep that flame going, and I'll take the fibrous stuff, and just look at that, it just takes off. Right, just in the middle. There we go. That's good. And she's got it so hot now that the camera's going to melt. So what have we got for dinner tonight?
Looks like we have hamburger with mushrooms and mixed, I guess, green vegetables and tomato sauce.
Okay. And the mixed greens, those are like turnip greens and stuff like that. They're southern style. I dehydrated those.
Okay, southern green vegetables.
That's right. And those mushrooms are a variety of different types of mushrooms. All gourmet mushrooms that were on sale at the store. And all right, it's starting to boil. So I'm going to stir in some of the tomato sauce just so it gets into the boiling water. I don't want the tomato sauce going all the way to the bottom. But look at that. Those greens look just like they just came out of your stove at home. And the mushrooms, look at the mushrooms. Mushrooms just hydrate so incredibly well. Let me see if I can pull up a piece of the beef. And there's the hamburger. It comes out looking just like when you first bring it out of your skillet at home. So how did it turn out?
It's very good. The meat is good and it's dense. Not a lot of fat in it. The vegetables are good and the mushrooms are delicious. So it turned out well.
Good.
Good job, honey.
Well, one of the things you got to remember, if you dehydrate beef, get the 96% fat-free, or the highest number that you can get. The least amount of fat in the beef, the better you are on dehydrating. Fat does not dehydrate well. So that's something important to remember. But if you want to see how I dehydrate beef, most people do it in really fine cubes, and they break it up and they break it up and they break it up. And then you eat it and you don't even know if there's beef in the dish. I prefer to do it in cubes, and you have to make sure that it's all the same size, all the same thickness, cut it into strips roughly the same size, and it works a lot better. And you can season that beef. And so I'll try to put a description in there on the bottom, and so you can see that beef, because I do it much differently than everybody else does. With my dinner, I'm going to have a little Treehouse Originals. It's a spice drinking chocolate. It has cinnamon and however you pronounce AJI chili. IE, maybe, chili. But it's really good. And it says, drink your chocolate, just add hot water. So it's Mother's Day weekend.
Yes.
You've been a good mother.
Well, thank you.
I think your 2 kids would probably say you've been the best mother ever.
I love my girls. They're good girls. Well, young women now.
They are. They're women now.
That's right.
They might be mothers themselves someday soon. And we lost both our mothers within the last 3 months.
That's true. Very sad. Very, very sad. So this Mother's Day is both of our first time without our mothers.
That's right. Kind of a bittersweet Mother's Day. And, but I'm glad I got to enjoy Mother's Day with you out here in the nature.
Yeah, I mean, this has been very peaceful. The weather's been wonderful. Got lots of exercise today. Lots of exercise today. So, yeah, and it's nice to be outside. This is a gorgeous fire.
You've done a great job with the fire.
Well, thank
You've
you.
become a fire professional.
Well, I learned from you. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been kind of peaceful out here. Yeah. There's a lot going on. But it's good to be in the air and, you know, the open air. Walking in the open air has been good.
The hike was 8 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of grueling because we haven't done a hike. I've done a couple since you did your last one, but you haven't been able to come on the last couple.
Yeah, I haven't had much exercise, so that's made this one more difficult because of what's been going on. You know, I like to swim, and I haven't gotten to swim in a long time. So it was good to get exercise, to be out and about in, you know, in the outdoors. It's gorgeous. The ferns are just magnificent. And I love water, and there are lots of waterfalls, lots of babbling brooks.
Yeah.
That was very pretty.
Quite a few old growth trees too. Very big trees. One of them, my span goes out 6 foot 2 inches. I couldn't even get my hands halfway around that tree. It was that big. Amazing how big some of those trees were out there.
Yeah. No, there was one that was all hollowed out, like a person could have fit in it. So.
Yeah, it looked like something out of, what's the movie with the Hobbit?
Oh, yeah.
It looked like a Hobbit house.
Yeah.
So, Lord of the Rings.
Right.
But, so anyway, it was a good trip. And we've got one more breakfast tomorrow. What did you think about the dehydrated foods?
They are definitely better than the ones that we purchased in the beginning.
Yeah.
My very first camping trip, those ones that we purchased were horrible. And they were supposed to be the best available, and they were horrible. So these were much better than that. And they're very filling, so which was good. And, you know, and you season them, so they were quite tasty.
I think one of the advantages you have when you dehydrate your own food is you do get to season it to your taste, and you do get to put the ingredients in that you want to put in instead of just having to settle for whatever the manufacturer puts in.
That's true.
And I know sometimes if they say there's mushrooms in it, there might only be 4 mushrooms in the entire packet.
That's right.
Ours are loaded with mushrooms.
Well, not only that, the meat, you know, there's not very much meat normally in these prepackaged foods, and we had, you know, you had a lot of meat and you had some vegetables and tried to make it healthy.
Yeah.
So, and we had salmon, so that was good. We got fish. So, put our omega-3s in today.
The scrambled eggs did really well.
Yes.
Cooking them with the steam, over the steam.
Yes.
And if you put enough ghee or olive oil or whatever in the bottom of that thing, they won't stick. And that steam really just keeps them going. So it works out real well.
Yeah, and I got to have my, my good coffee.
You did.
So that was good.
Whenever Anne-Marie comes, we have to bring the French press, and we have to bring the grounds. I'll normally bring tiny little sleeves, and I can bring 20 tiny little sleeves, and it still weighs a quarter of what the French press and the coffee grounds do, but it's worth it. It's always good coffee. And you made it extra strong this morning, which I think both of us like that.
Yeah, it was pretty strong this morning.
And I actually put some of that turmeric, ginger, spice stuff in the coffee by Republic Tea. The only thing I don't like about that stuff is it doesn't dissolve. It stays granular. Turmeric doesn't dissolve in hot water.
That's true. That's very true.
And so the problem
it's a
is
problem.
you leave a lot of turmeric all inside the cup and on the bottom of the cup because it doesn't dissolve into the liquid. And then eventually, you know, you keep drinking, and unless you're stirring it just absolutely constantly, you're leaving a lot of that turmeric on the inside of the cup.
You're absolutely right, but that turmeric probably helped you on our long walk today.
Probably did. It's anti-inflammatory, right?
Yes, it's like a natural anti-inflammatory, has natural anti-inflammatory properties, so.
Yeah. So, you know, I'll do it again tomorrow morning. And I think the trip out is going to be easier than the trip back is going to be easier than the trip in with the backpacks, you think?
Yes, I think so.
Because I think a lot of it's going to be downhill.
I'm so happy about that. Thank you.
And a couple of those little narrow ledges were interesting. We were wearing our day packs, which we probably had about 4 to 5 pounds of stuff maybe in our day packs, each one of us.
Right.
Well, I couldn't imagine. You know, I probably have 45 pounds of stuff in mine with the tent and everything. You know, 40 pounds, somewhere around there, 45 pounds. And you've got a good bit of weight in yours. I couldn't imagine going on some of those rock ledges with that much weight on my back.
The precipices were definitely
narrow, very narrow shelves. I mean, they're only like 2 or 3 of them, but that's all you needed to scare the crap out of you, right?
Yeah.
Was those 2 or 3?
No, they were quite invigorating, interesting.
But the weather, I think, was perfect because it was at night. It's getting a little chilly. It's getting in the 40s, probably low 40s. I think it was 42 last night, but you know, the daytime temperatures, it was like 65 degrees. So we're having kind of a cold spell here in May. But I think 65 degrees was optimal because it made for a very comfortable hike. You know, eventually we were wearing our short sleeve shirts and really, you know, our body heat was getting
that's true.
generated.
I started off with this sweater and ended up taking it off with a shirt underneath.
Yeah. And if you're going to have dehydrated meals, you know, the one thing you've got to have is a lot of water. So if you're bringing Pop-Tarts and, you know, pepperonis and stuff like that you already pre-cooked and things like this that you're going to serve up, you know, you don't have to worry about the water as much. But all of our meals are dehydrated, but they're a much higher quality meal. Our meals are, you know, good food. It's good natural food that we buy at the grocery store. And vitamins and all that kind of stuff like that, and those greens and the mushrooms and the peppers and all the kind of stuff that you get. So it's not like a junky through hikers kind of meal where they're buying Pop-Tarts and, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. Junky kind of foods that doesn't have a lot of food value. Maybe a little higher in carbohydrates, but they're hollow carbohydrates. But I thought the foods we're eating on the trail are much, much better than what a lot of people are eating.
Oh, that's definitely true.
So, you know, I think that's a plus. But anyway, I've enjoyed this trip with you.
Yes, I've enjoyed it as well. It's been fun.
And we'll survive one more cold night together.
That's right.
And see what we can do. You're in your mummy bag, your sleeping bag.
My warm sleeping bag.
Yeah. But that's a 0 degree bag. And you're cold natured, so you have to have a bag that's, you know, will take you to 0 degrees. And then you also have a liner. We didn't bring the liner this time, but there's also a liner. I think that adds about somewhere between 3 and 5 degrees that you can drop with the liner in it too.
Yes.
So I'm still sleeping in my inside my quilt, down quilt, and it went pretty well. The hard thing was I put the straps under the pad, and one of the straps comes up to just below my chest, and what that does is it holds the quilt on either side of the pad. But the problem is it's hard to get out of the dang thing, if you know, in that tent, because that's a 2-person tent. That's a 2-person packed tent, that Kelty tent that we have. But I like it. It's good. It's light. It's versatile. And it's easy to set up. It'll stand alone if you can't get the stakes in the ground. So, I mean, it's a good versatile tent. It's not as nice as our 4-person tent that we use when we're closer to the car, but with a huge vestibule in it.
Yes, it's
And we
definitely
can
more
put all our
comfortable.
gear in that tent, you know, not worry about a thing. We can put all our gear in that tent and spread it all out. But anyway, it was a good trip. So, hope you had a good Mother's Day. And
Tomorrow.
Weekend. Well, Mother's Day weekend. Mother's Day weekend camp out.
Yes, I get to see the girls tomorrow, our young women.
And in Georgia, they've just started allowing us to eat at restaurants. So I'm sure for Mother's Day, all the restaurants are going to be slammed, but maybe we can do takeout at some restaurant that you like or something, and we'll figure out something to do.
Yes, takeout.
Yeah,
Definitely takeout.
Because you don't want to be eating in the restaurants anyway, because you're at the hospital all the time anyhow. So, you know, you probably need to keep your exposure to a minimum out there in the public. But anyway, thanks for being such a great mom to our girls, and they've become incredibly wonderful adults, and they've done so well in school, and now they're on to their professional careers, and I think they owe a lot of that to you. So thank you for always minding the children and making sure that they were getting everything done, and you were inspiring them to succeed.
Well, it's been a wonderful journey, and it's been good having you with me, and you know, we did a lot of things together, so it's been good overall.
Yeah. Good camp out. It's been fun. I would highly recommend. Would you recommend that people come here to FD Roosevelt State Park?
I would highly recommend it. Yeah, I would highly recommend it. The park.
I would love to
Nice.
try the 21 miles one time. Break it into 3 days or
Oh,
something like
okay,
that.
okay, yeah.
But
not all one day.
That's still almost, 7-8 miles a day. So that's a lot with the way we're packing right now. We would have to pack a lot differently.
Yes.
So right now we pack pretty heavy. And I'm still working on you to try to get you down lower and lower and lower.
Well, this is the lowest I can pack, so.
Well, I'm hoping we're going to keep getting lower and lower in weight. But anyway, right now it is what it is. But anyway, I would highly recommend it too. I thought it was a great outing. I think they do a great job with this park, and they mind it well. There's
It's very well.
there's a
it's very well done.
Yeah, a nonprofit agency. The Pine Mountain Trail Association, I believe, is the name of it. They have a website. They've got maps that you can purchase. They've got an interactive Google map that you can download, which is phenomenal.
Oh, that really helped us today.
Yeah, well, no, the Google map is what we use to get to the parking lot, to find our parking lot.
Okay.
Here. We used All Trails. That was the app.
Oh, okay.
And All Trails, we did the Poplar Loop, and I downloaded that. And we just made sure that we were always on the trail. Sometimes with these trails, because they have so many loop trails that all attach to the Pine Mountain Trail, there's a lot of different blazing going on. So sometimes it's white, sometimes it's blue, and sometimes you have to say, all right, are we on the right trail? And that's where an All Trails program works out really, really well. And so I kudos to All Trails. I think I'd pay $6 or something like that for a year. It's the best $6 I've ever spent. So.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see what we can do. You've done a great job with this fire, and we'll ride the fire out and hit the sack, wake up tomorrow, and see what we can do. Well, it's 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, Mother's Day, and you've never seen such a happier mother on Mother's Day. This is not
morning.
this is not necessarily the 5-star hotel, but
Get my thing fixed.
it's all of nature.
Yeah.
Well, we did have some rowdy neighbors last night. We had a whole mess of coyotes. They were very, very close and very, very loud. And they were chasing something. My biggest fear was the coyotes are going to get in our backpacks outside. Because we've been cooking on the site, so I'm sure we've left a lot of scents behind, food scent. And I was really worried that they were going to start trying to dig into the backpacks and see what was in there, but it eventually died down and they went away. But the birds are chirping quite loudly, and we've got a woodpecker out here who's just pounding a tree and making a statement. But anyway, how'd you sleep?
Not very well.
Not very well.
There were a lot of noises last night.
Yeah, the noises were tough to deal with last night.
Yeah.
And then,
Wasn't sure what they were. I knew the coyotes because I know that sound now after camper, but the other ones, no idea what those, what kind of creature
right,
was making noises, but they definitely were singing or something, talking last night.
well, I'm going to start working my way out, and you can see they're starting to stiffen up right now. Steam's blowing out, so we've got boiling water underneath with our dehydrated meal that we're going to add the eggs to.